What's up, Flanders? It is time to talk about Monday Night Football, Eagles Chargers for DraftKings Showdown. I'm going to be following the usual format, going position by position, starting with quarterbacks, then running backs, receivers, tight ends, defenses, and kickers. At the end, I will make my lineups right here using Run the Sims. I'll be doing it on the stream. You can watch me make my lineups. Take any questions that you have. I'll take questions as we go. However, before we get into it, I have to beg you. We are getting very close, very, very close to 6,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. We're still 45 away. And if we don't get there tonight, probably we're going to get to 6,000 when Adam does a stream on Thursday or on Monday. Adam's going to be doing solo streams here on the channel this week. Also a good reminder, letting you all know I am going to be traveling this week. So Adam will be doing some shows on his own, one show on Thursday, one show on Monday. I'm not going to be doing shows prior to lock on Thursday and Monday. I'm going to be traveling at both of those times when I would normally be doing pre-lock shows. So the regular content a bit different this week than it has been. I'll be back to my regular content, doing shows before lock every Monday, Thursday, and Sunday. Following that, after I get back from New Orleans next week. But this weekend, checking out New Orleans for the very first time. That should be a good time. Can we get a bag check? Are you talking about best ball bags? I am very middling in my advance rate. Pretty good, slightly above average. Nothing amazing. Hoping I can make a run in the playoffs. But yeah, so Adam will be doing a solo show Thursday afternoon. That's going to be the only show on this channel on Thursday. Same thing on Monday. I don't know. I'll probably do something for Sunday Night Football. Haven't figured out exactly what I'm doing yet. Beignets. I've never had a beignet. I think it's just a donut, right? Is it different than a donut? I'm very excited. I've never been to New Orleans other than apparently when I was a baby. I went to New Orleans. That's the only time I've been. So I'm very excited to get down there. But before that, let's win some money tonight. We've got Eagles at Chargers, the final game of the best ball regular season. I'm super excited. And to the point about bags, I've got heavy exposure in this game. A lot of Keenan Allen, Dallas Goedert, one of my highest drafted players, fair amount of Eagles receivers, et cetera, et cetera. So very, very excited about this game from a best ball standpoint, but also should be a fun DFS game. The only inactive news that we got that was kind of unexpected is no Tyler Conklin tonight. So there was a chance that we were going to get a little bit more Tyler Conklin than usual with Tucker Fisk out. Maybe he'd get some tush-push action, that kind of stuff. Tyler Conklin is inactive tonight, which, makes Will Dissly a bit more interesting. Will Dissly now the tight end 2 for the Chargers, the unequivocal tight end 2 for the Chargers, maybe becomes slightly more interesting. But we're going to, again, start with quarterbacks. I'll take a look at my first run of the Sims in the evening. So we've got Jalen Hurts projected for 37% flex ownership, 23% captain ownership. I am well over the field in the flex, well under the field at captain. You can see my exposures. For anybody who's not familiar with Run the Sims, which, by the way, you should check it out. You can use promo code Neil to get 50% off your first payment on any product at Run the Sims, any NFL product, that is. It's these far right columns is where you can see under the Shady Flex and Shady Captain. That's because I'm using the Shady optimizer portfolio optimizer tool. So you can see my exposures in these far to right columns. You can see the projected ownership in these far to left columns. So Hertz projected for 37 in the flex, 23 at captain. I'm getting to 64 in the flex, 8 at captain. So well over the field in the flex, well under the field at captain. Currently, I have no real issue with that. I think he's maybe being slightly over projected at captain, so maybe I'll move that ownership around. We'll see. This morning there were I had some questions about the ownership numbers that they were using here. I might change some things with the ownership, which will significantly change what I get in my Sims also, because it looked pretty far off in some places this morning. So I might move that down a bit and get some more Hertz at captain, but generally he's projected for 60% total ownership. I'm currently getting to 70% total ownership, just way more of it in the flex. That seems fine. I do typically like to go to position players in the flex. Hertz is like kind of an exception because he runs so much. He has 8 rushing touchdowns on the season in 12 games, rushes for like 27 yards per game. The Eagles actually pass more than I thought they did. They are 16th in pass rate over expectation on the season. It is a tough matchup on paper with the Chargers. They've allowed the 11th fewest schedule adjusted fantasy points per game to quarterbacks over the past 5 weeks. So not the most ideal situation for Jalen Hurts, but still, only one game. He's going to score some fantasy points. I think Hurts a very strong option. Clearly, I think you can play him unstacked. That's not what I got in a lot of my sims. Typically, when I have Hurts in the captain spot, I have him with at least one, often multiple pass catchers. Same thing when I have him in the flex. But he obviously, again, 8 rushing touchdowns in 12 games. Obviously, can get there without bringing along any pass catchers if he does a lot of damage on the ground. I'm from Minnesota too, though, so I've only had him when I went down there. Okay, yeah, if you've been down there, I mean, I'm going to try him. I'm going to try some vignettes. Believe me, don't you worry about it. I'm going to try a vignette or 2 while I'm down there. Justin Herbert on the other side, he is 10,000 projected for 44% flex ownership, 6% captain ownership. I'm overweight both spots, getting 47% in the flex, 9% at captain. Herbert looks great. The matchup with the Eagles is, let's see, and I can just read off what the matchup actually is. Hang on one second. Read off my notes here on Herbert. It is the Eagles defense allowed the 7th fewest schedule adjusted fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. Chargers also rank 6th in terms of pass rate over expectation. So they want to throw the ball. At least that's what they have done, is they want to throw the ball. It is a tough matchup for throwing the ball. However, a couple things that might affect things for the Chargers. First of all, Justin Herbert had surgery on his non-throwing hand this week. So who knows if they're going to be, they might run more with Herbert dealing with this hand injury. I mean, even though obviously he's good to go, he's active, he's going to start. The fact that he does have a hurt hand probably does affect their play calling at least a little bit. So it's possible that they run more in this game. They're also getting Omari and Hampton back. So a couple of reasons to think they might run more than they have historically. And it's probably not going to be Herbert running as much again, because he's got an injured hand. They get Omari and Hampton back. I would think that he's going to lose some of his rushing work. I'll see what the inputs are here and if I want to adjust for it at all. But then on the other hand, one positive is Jalen Carter out for the Eagles, a really great defender. That helps, makes the matchup a bit easier for the Chargers. So some good, some bad. Looks a little bit different than maybe it does on paper. But ultimately, you can only play 2 quarterbacks on a showdown slate. Justin Herbert's going to look great. Actually, I take that back. Theoretically, I guess maybe some of you will want to play Trey Lance. It's not the dumbest thing. There have been other times where backup quarterbacks have looked worse. But because he's 8,000, I'm not going to get there. I think like I've heard that he has some plays that are being drawn up for him. He maybe gets a little bit of work. He could even score a rushing touchdown. Maybe they draw something up for him at the 5-yard line and he runs one in for a touchdown. At 8,000, like you would need 3 rushing touchdowns probably if you're only getting those in the in those 5 yards. And who knows, maybe they have more drawn up for him than we're expecting. I don't think they're gonna have much drawn up for Trey Lance. So I don't think it's worth wasting a roster spot on Trey Lance at 8,000. If he were 6,000, I'd have a lot more interest. At 8,000, it's just, you probably need at least, I guess there are some slates where 8,000 you could get there with like 10 fantasy points, in which case I guess that's plausible. But most of the time you're going to still need more like 15 at 8,000, and that's just going to take multiple touchdowns. So I think it's kind of thin. I'm not going to be playing any Trey Lance. Anything else? I think that's it. We went over the matchups. Yeah, that's it for quarterback. Quarterback always pretty straightforward. The quarterbacks look good. Like that's usually the takeaway. Sometimes they look great and I want to play them in every lineup. This is not one of those spots. I think we've got a lot of different players that look good at wide receiver, running back, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not going to be like a quarterback in every lineup type of slate for me. But they're going to be both quarterbacks probably in more than 50% of my lineups. Running back. I still have a quarterback. There we go. Saquon Barkley, 9,600 projected for 36% flex ownership, 20% captain ownership. I got to 53% at flex and 21% at captain. I'm just getting all of the Saquon Barkley. I can see here that the ownership still looks like it is not where it should be. We've got Kamani Vidal at 2% projected flex ownership. That's going to just throw off everything. If we have Kamani Vidal at 2% ownership, I'm getting to Kamani Vidal in 76% of my lineups. I think maybe I need to just rerun the Sims right now. Actually, I'm going to see if they have changed anything. The issue with the ownership is Run the Sims doesn't do it themselves. They outsource. So I don't think, like, with changes to other things, maybe the ownership doesn't actually update. So I am just going to manually update some of the ownership numbers here. And then I'm going to rerun the Sims because I just don't think it's worth it to even talk about with the ownership being this far off. So I'm going to look at RG. Look at one other spot. They have Command. Oh, they only have them at 8% now. So that is actually, they've moved more toward Run the Sims. None at captain. All right, they have 1% Hampton at captain. Only 18% total. Okay, so they don't have much ownership going to. That's kind of interesting. Oh, they don't. Let me see. Dallas Goedert. I have to reset this because I just don't want all of that Kamani Vidal in my. Like, I think he's. I want to have some. Don't get me wrong. I just don't want that much. They have Dallas Goedert at 35%. Okay. I'm just going to kind of IKB it a bit here. So I'm going to say, first of all, in the Eagles, anybody I need to change, I'm going to move Hurts down to 20% captain ownership. The nice thing is now I can, after I make some adjustments, I'm just going to use the normalized ownership, change everything. So I'm going to move Hurts down to 20% captain. All right. Man, they have Devonta Smith more than I thought. They've got it at 42%. I'm just going to move him down to 40. And then on the Chargers, I'm going to move Vidal up to 10%, 1% at captain. Is there anybody else I can move up? I mean, I really like QJ, but I don't think he's going to get 11%. I'm going to move that up to like 18 and 2. Trey Harris up to like 5%, maybe higher. Gadsden, I think, will get a lot of ownership. I think Disley will get some now. Move him to like 3%. Who else? Do I need to move Hampton down? Okay. I think we're close to where I want to be. Yeah, maybe Darius Cooper gets 1%. All right, now I'm going to normalize the ownership numbers. Okay. It's a little bit better, I think. I'm going to rerun the Sims. And then I'll keep going. All right. So back to it. I'll use, since I'm running these Sims, I will get back to looking at the RG numbers. And then I'll see what I get. So RG has Saquon at 24%. So they have a higher captain ownership and 47%. I was getting to a ton of Saquon Barkley. I think that makes sense. Saquon Barkley just has an awesome workload over the past 4 games, 71 carries, 15 targets on 55% route participation. So just under 4 targets per game. Getting, 18 carries per game. Also, really nice workload. In terms of the matchup, it is not an awesome one over the past 5 weeks. It's been a bottom 12 or so matchup for running backs against the Chargers. However, you can only play so many players. Saquon Barkley, like, this is a game where I think we have kind of a lot of unknowns. And I think Saquon Barkley is one of the clearest knowns on this slate. I think Saquon Barkley is going to get, I know Saquon Barkley is going to have a fairly heavy workload here. It's not a great matchup, but that's kind of what you see across the board. We don't have a lot of great matchups. Still has the ability to break off big plays. So at the end of the day, I think Saquon Barkley, a very strong play. He is getting a lot of ownership. I may not end up with the, let's see, I was getting to like 70% or so. He's projected for around 70% ownership at Roto Grinders. I think I probably come in slightly under that just because there are so many other plays that look pretty good. But I think he's like objectively one of the better plays on the slate. I think he's a strong captain play. I would like to have at least, 15, 20% Saquon captain. He would be in one of my first lineups. So I think, yeah, he looks great. All right. Beyond Saquon for the Eagles, let's see. Again, over the past 4 games, it's been Will Shipley, 4 carries, 3 targets on 13% route participation. So 1 carry per game, just under 1 target per game, 13% route participation. Tank Bigsby, 2 carries per game over the past 4 games, no targets. Kind of splitting hairs. Everybody knows that I love playing if you're watching these shows, you probably know that I love playing backup running backs because they often have some standalone role and then they have awesome contingent upside. As we've seen multiple times on Showdown slates recently, it's been a kind of a fun run for backup running backs. I have not taken down any tournaments with them, sadly, but I think that these are particularly low-owned running backs with particularly great contingent upside, not a ton of standalone value. So this is, some slates, like we had Devin Singletary and Ramondre Stevenson, that was the ultimate. Like they both have really good standalone roles and then also contingent upside, but they're also getting ownership. Here, neither is going to get a ton of ownership, both being projected for like 1 to 3% ownership. So you're not going to be competing with as many players if you are over the field on these running backs. Yeah, Bigsby 0.21, Shipley 0.27. I mean, this is lower than it will be. But still awesome contingent upside. My preference, if I were playing 20 lineups and I'm only going to go to 1, I would have at least 1 share of Tank Bigsby because I think while Will Shipley has a slightly better standalone role, again, because he has the receiving work, which is more valuable, just getting the PPR upside there. I think Bigsby has the better contingent upside, which is what you really want with these backup running backs. Shipley's, standalone role still probably not good enough to pay off his price tag in most games at 2,000, whereas Bigsby at 2,600, if we do get an injury to Saquon Barkley, suddenly Bigsby is just the player that you want in all of your lineups. So to me, that contingent upside is worth more than the standalone role that Will Shipley has. And Tank Bigsby also has some standalone role and, could flip. In this game, he gets 6 carries instead of 2. So I think my preference, or I know my preference, is Tank Bigsby over Will Shipley, but I want to be above weight on both. I'm going to have at least 5% of each of Will Shipley and Tank Bigsby is my plan. So Eagles running backs look good. It is also notable that this is a slate where we don't have any like sure thing value plays below like 4,000. We have a lot of players in that like 4 to 6K range, somewhere around there, that look pretty good. We don't have any like sub 1K plays that look great. So if we get 4 points out of Will Shipley or Tank Bigsby, that might be enough to get to some of the pay up options that we like and kind of set you apart. So I think both backup running backs on the Eagles look good to me for large field tournaments. Again, these are just large field tournament plays. I guess I should stipulate that more often on these shows. I play the largest field contest, so I'm always talking large field contests when I talk about these backup running backs, how much I love them. I wouldn't be playing them in a 100-man field. Like even if everything goes right, you don't gain enough for a 100-man field, whereas for a large field contest, you can win a ton of money. It's probably not going to happen, but you can win a ton of money when it does happen. So I love them for large field tournaments. Would not play them in any contest that's like 1,000 entries or less. I love them for 10,000 plus entry fields where you can really separate. And the ones I play are typically hundreds of thousands where, it really helps out quite a bit. Oh, look at this guy dropping dimes. I'm a Run the Sims subscriber. Chopped the $3.20 max last night for 5K with a Run the Sims lineup. I didn't bully the Sims, just massage the 2 team total points. Don't bully the Sims. You can't stop me from bullying the Sims. I will continue to bully the Sims to my heart's content, but that's good advice, I think, to not bully the Sims. I think that is generally wise. Okay. Beyond the Eagles. All right, good. The Sims have been run. The Chargers, okay, I'm still getting to all of the Vidal even after increasing his share of the rushing work. So we don't really know. With Omarion Hampton returning, We don't know what the split is going to look like for Omarion Hampton and Kamani Vidal. We're projecting here for Omarion Hampton 34% flex ownership, 10% captain ownership at 7,800. I am getting to 20% flex, 1% captain. Kamani Vidal is 7,400. I increased the ownership to like 10%. I'm still getting to 56% and 15% captain. So Kamani Vidal looks great at really low ownership here. And that's even with fairly conservative numbers here. So Adam put it as 44% of the market share going to Vidal, 37% to Hampton, 5% receiving market share to Vidal, 9% to Hampton. So he is giving Vidal a larger share of the workload than Hampton, which I think depending where you look, people are going to project it differently. But fairly conservative numbers for Kamani Vidal still looks great because the ownership is so low. Even after I adjusted it, I'm probably going to adjust it further and give Omarion Hampton more of the slip because I don't think I need to take this big of a stand on Kamani Vidal. I mean, like I do think Omarion Hampton is fairly likely to come in and have a bigger workload than Kamani Vidal. So I don't want to have this huge stand on Kamani Vidal. If you wanted to, like I think he is going to be low owned. I think they both could be fairly low owned. Again, looking at the RG ownership numbers, they have Kamani Vidal at 8%, Omarion Hampton at 18%. I think it is one of those, like, we could benefit from the unknown situation scaring people. So we could get both Hampton and Vidal low owned. And I think I want to be overweight to the field on both. Not if Hampton is at 44%, which is being projected at Run the Sims. If he came in at the 18% and I think 1% at captain, 19% total ownership at RG. If he came in at 19% total ownership, I would want to be over the field on Omarion Hampton. Similarly, if Vidal comes in at single digit ownership, I want to be over the field. Looking at, I mean, you can, one of the beauties of Run the Sims, you can look at flex rate and captain rate. These are essentially efficient ownership. So this is their optimal rate. So they have Omarion Hampton optimal 30% of the time. They have Kamani Vidal optimal 29% of the time. So it's all kind of relative to that. But I think this could be a situation where we see both Vidal and Hampton come in at like 22% or lower ownership, in which case their optimal rates are higher. They're going to look good. So I think that's fairly likely enough that I'm pretty intrigued by both. If they come in at low ownership, I'm going to shoot for like, I don't know, 25-ish% of each. My preference is, in a vacuum, would be Omarion Hampton. I think he's more likely to come in and take a bigger part of the workload. But I don't feel, strongly enough about it that if ownership comes in much, much later on Vidal, then I would rather take a shot on Vidal. The matchup for the Chargers, I'm going to read the matchup and then also the quote, because I think there's kind of a telling quote on the split here. Let's see. Where are we? Oh, it's a positive matchup. That's right. It's like the 11th best matchup over the past 5 weeks. 11th best schedule adjusted fantasy points per game matchup for running backs against the Eagles. And again, the Eagles now without Jalen Carter. So that's a real reason to get excited about playing these running backs. Is no Jalen Carter. This matchup gets a lot better. We saw it in week 1 with Javonte Williams just having a massive game in week 1 against the Eagles without Jalen Carter. I know somebody threw it in chat earlier. I think it was not EOM sharing Lord Reeves' stat, but it's just like the teams have been so much better against the Eagles on the ground without Jalen Carter than with Jalen Carter. It's kind of a small sample, but it also makes sense. Jalen Carter, a really strong defender. So both of these running backs look a lot better. The downside is they also are without, I'm blanking on their offensive lineman, who's just a beast. I'm blanking on his name, but they're out. A couple of their I mean, they all season they've been without one of their best. Now they're missing one of their other best offensive linemen. So not an ideal situation from that standpoint, but they're playing in a good spot against this weakened Eagles defensive line. The quote. I want to read off the quote because I do think it is not Lane Johnson. Yeah, Joe Alt. Let me read off the quote on the split because they were asked specifically. Yeah, that's not the quote. Here it is. On the 26th of November, offensive coordinator Greg Roman was asked what the workload plan will be for Omarion Hampton and Kamani Vidal when Hampton returns. So this is a couple weeks old. But Greg Roman said, we'll play that one by ear. Feels really good about both of them. I feel really good about both of them. I feel like Kamani stepped in and helped the team in a lot of different ways. So kudos to him. Really excited about what he's been able to do for us and what he'll do for us moving forward. I'm sure you'll see some kind of 1-2 punch there. We'll see how it divvies out. I doubt that Omarion will get his Denver workload right away. So my key takeaways from that are, he says he's not going to get it right away. We're not going to get the massive workload that Omarion Hampton was getting prior to his injury in this game. But also my other takeaway was it's kind of like, kudos to him for what he's been doing. He's been great, but he's not going to get it right away. Kind of suggests to me Omarion Hampton probably is the running back that they want to load up on and give him a huge workload, but they're not ready to give it necessarily right away. So I don't think it's going to be just full on Omarion Hampton 23 touches in this game. But I think it is pretty likely that they want to move in that direction, and maybe they'll see what they can give him here. So, but ultimately not going to give him the Denver workload. I think where there's probably a cap at 18 touches or something is probably the cap for Omarion Hampton, if I'm just spitballing, guessing what it is. But ultimately, nobody has any idea, and they could be lying to us. We'll see. So low ownership, reasonable price tags. I like both of the Chargers running backs. I think Omarion Hampton would be my preference if they come in at similar ownership with the current ownership. I think I'll probably lean on Vidal at lower ownership. Wide receivers. I'll move on. I'll check in on chat. Here it is. Eagles have allowed 5.4 yards per carry with a 53.7% success rate, defending 82 running backs with Carter off the field, compared to 4 yards per carry and a 62.2% success rate against 193 runs with Carter on the field. So they are much, much better to run on with Jalen Carter out. That is worthwhile. Are we 5 away from 6K? Would appreciate it, guys. We're so close. We're so close to 6K. Is it really just 5 away though? I have not looked. If you guys could subscribe, get me to 6,000. Don't give Adam that glory of getting the channel over 6,000 subscribers while I'm gone. Please help a guy out. Get me to 6,000 before I'm out of here. Also, yes, please like. Hampton's certainly also more involved as a pass catcher. Just has the the floor that comes with being involved as a pass catcher as well. A lot to like about Omarion Hampton, but if Kamani Vidal is not going to get much ownership, he's been pretty good without Omarion Hampton, so they could split here. Yeah, and then Slater, the other, has been out all year. I really thought this was going to be an awesome offensive line. It's been brutal. All right, wide receivers. We can start with the Eagles, and probably my favorite play of the slate is Devonta Smith. Now, these are always I'm kind of splitting hairs here in a lot of ways with how much I love Devonta Smith, because it's difficult to guess game to game who's going to have the better game between Devonta Smith and AJ Brown. It largely comes down to touchdown, who doesn't get pulled down for pass interference. It's pretty random, but we do our best to try to predict who is going to have the better game. And I think that there are more reasons to like Devonta Smith than AJ Brown here, starting with the price tag. He's $8,400 to AJ Brown's $9,000 on a slate where we don't have much really low prices. We don't have a ton of great value in the sense that we don't have cheap options on this slate that we can have any kind of confidence in. That $600 kind of matters, that Devonta Smith is cheaper than AJ Brown. He's also lower owned, projected for 33% flex, 9% captain, to AJ Brown's 41% flex and 10% captain. So that helps a bit for liking Devonta Smith. And then also, AJ Brown has always just crushed man coverage, whereas Devonta Smith is a bit better against zone coverage. So if I'm going to go to man versus zone. So this is the Chargers play man coverage at the second lowest rate in the league. And looking at the rates for Devonta Smith and AJ Brown, man coverage, 3.21 yards per route run for AJ Brown. That's just incredible rates against man coverage for AJ Brown. But the Chargers don't play a ton of man coverage. And Devonta Smith just 1.66, which is fine, but not that great. And then in terms of zone, Devonta Smith, 2.33 yards per route run Obviously not quite as elite as AJ Brown against man, but that's really good. 2.33 yards per route run against zone for Devonta Smith. AJ Brown down at 1.72. So Devonta Smith better than AJ Brown against zone, and this is a team that plays a lot of zone defense. So we're splitting hairs a little bit, but factoring in the schematic matchup, the price, the ownership, I really like Devonta Smith here. Again, project for 33 in the flex, 9% of captain. I'm getting to 27% of flex, so slightly under the field there, but 21% at captain of Devonta Smith. This is without me doing anything. This is just based on Adam's inputs, and the Sims are really loving Devonta Smith here. AJ Brown looks a bit over-owned. He's 9,000 projected for 41% flex ownership, 10% captain ownership. I'm getting to 18% in the flex, 5% of captain. I'll probably boost that a little bit, even though I prefer Devonta Smith. I think AJ Brown, just any given game, can just score the touchdown, get to 100 yards. Doesn't matter that much that the matchup isn't ideal for him. He can still break away from defenses, score a touchdown, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I think both AJ Brown and Devonta Smith look great, but my preference is Devonta Smith. He is one of my favorite plays, maybe my favorite play on the slate. Beyond those two, Jahan Dotson is 3,000 projected for 3% ownership. I'm getting to 9% currently. Darius Cooper, 1,000 projected for 4% ownership. I'm getting to 9% also. Britton Covey, probably just special teams. So I'm not getting to any Britton Covey at 200. If he does, return a punt for a touchdown or something at 200, I do think like those 6 fantasy points is probably enough that you would want him in your lineup. Like if I knew he's going to do nothing except return a punt for a touchdown, I would play him in a ton of lineups, maybe all of my lineups. But that's also fairly unlikely. So I'll probably just go with those Jahan Dotson and Darius Cooper behind the top two. Looking at, I'm going to bring up the fantasy points scored. So Jahan Dotson, I'm not enthusiastic about it. He has really only ever excelled. It was the same case last year. He didn't do anything all year until week 18 with AJ Brown and Devonta Smith out. Suddenly had a decent game. Same thing this year. It's week 1. He had 8.9, not even like a big spike. Like, I don't even know if you want that at 3,000. That was with AJ Brown, I think, getting hurt. Week 8, AJ Brown out. Jahan Dotson put up 11. Other than that, he hasn't really done anything all year. Nothing that you would want with his $3,000 salary. So I'm not a huge believer in Jahan Dotson, but if he comes in at 3% owned, like he's still more likely than 3% to just randomly score a touchdown on a broken play or break off a 50-yard reception on a broken play. So I still think he's a relatively strong play at 3,000, even though I don't have a ton of confidence in him. Darius Cooper, 1,000. Looking at the route participation for Darius Cooper, he was up at 29% in week 13. If he maintains that, he's going to look pretty good at 1,000 on a slate without a ton of value. So again, like it's not really enthusiastic. I'm not really confident in a player who's running 29% of routes. Like if he's targeted twice in this game, that'll be, I'd hope for 2 targets for Darius Cooper. But since we don't have much value, if he catches 2 balls for 15 yards, there's a good chance you want that at 1,000. So I do like Darius Cooper a bit. I'm not going to really do anything to change what I'm getting. I'm getting to 9% right now. That seems fine. And then the Chargers also, actually first, let's look at the matchup for Eagles receivers. So again, schematically better for Devonta Smith. Overall, not an easy matchup for the Eagles against the Chargers. Kind of negative across the board for receivers outside of, I guess, right wide receivers. Let's see. We have who do we have lining up wide right? Devonta. They list Devonta Smith as the slot, AJ Brown as the right, Jahan Dotson as the left. So technically, this would benefit AJ Brown, but I care more about the schematic matchup. Ultimately, I'm going to more Devonta Smith. And then on the Charger side, we have Ladd McConkey, 8,800. Keenan Allen, 6,600. Quentin Johnson, 7,000, the big 3. And then Trey Harris at 3,200 if you want somebody more contrarian. So starting with Ladd, he's, again, 8,800 projected for 35% flex, 5% captain ownership. I'm currently getting to 20% overall with 3% of that at captain. Not the best spot for Ladd McConkey. And he doesn't have great usage. If we look at, let's see, over the past 4 weeks, Lad McConkey, 22 targets, so just over 5 targets per game. Not exactly what you want from an alpha receiver, 5.5 targets per game, 75% route participation. None of that gives you a ton of confidence. It's also a terrible matchup for Lad McConkey in terms of the schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed per game. It's a bad matchup overall, but it is the worst matchup for slot receivers against the Eagles, way below average. He's going to be matching up with Cooper DeJean on the Eagles, so it's a tough spot for Lad McConkey in particular. But overall, it's also a fifth worst spot, so not an easy spot for the Chargers in general. It's just particularly bad for Lad McConkey, and he doesn't get targeted enough to justify his price tag. So I'm going to be underweight on Lad McConkey. I might want more than 20%, but honestly, not that much more. If he comes in at 40% at 8,800, that is a fade spot for me with Lad McConkey. Now, again, they are missing Jalen Carter, so that helps a bit. Maybe they have a bit more time, but yeah, not an ideal spot to get to Lad McConkey. So I'll be underweight there. Keenan Allen, 6,600. Projected for 27% flex, 2% captain ownership. I'm getting to 16% in the flex, 3% at captain. Actually, that's come down a bit. I like Keenan Allen a bit here. Like he's again, like Lad, not targeted enough to be, to love it. He's 19 targets over the past 4 weeks, under 5 targets per game on 63% route participation. It's a tough matchup. But again, with Keenan Allen, looking at the this is right. Route participation for Keenan Allen. They had their bye in week 12. And after the bye, Keenan Allen actually up to 82% route participation after the bye. So I don't know what happened. Like mid-season, he dropped down in weeks 8, 9 to 50 and 51% route participation. And then it like kind of slowly went up in weeks 10, 11 to 60, 66, had their bye up to 82. I don't know if he was like, the vet is getting exhausted or what the thought process is, why they were moving away from Keenan Allen, but back up to 82% in week 13 kind of gives you some hope that maybe he's back to the role he had earlier in the season. So I like Keenan Allen a bit. He's also the cheapest of the receivers on the Chargers. So he looks pretty good. Quentin Johnston is 7,000, projected for 11% flex and 1% captain ownership. Now I'm only getting to 13. I was getting to a lot more earlier. Now I'm at 13% flex and 1% captain. I would want more than that. I think Quentin Johnston is, if he's not going to get much ownership, a really fun play here. Has the big play upside always. And again, while it's not a great matchup for receivers in general, he at least doesn't run any in the slot, which is the worst possible spot for Chargers. So I like Quentin Johnston if he does come in at 12% total ownership. Still doesn't like get targeted a ton. Again, looking at the past 4 games. Quentin Johnston, 18 targets. So he's tied with Rondé Gadsden, 1 less than Keenan Allen, 4 fewer than Lad McConkey. But he runs a lot of routes, doesn't have to deal with Cooper DeJean. I think he looks pretty good. Looking at the matchups for the Chargers, we have Cooper DeJean on Lad McConkey, Quinyon Mitchell on Keenan Allen, and then Adoree Jackson on Quentin Johnston. So yeah, I think Quentin Johnston is the one that I want to target the most if he's going to come in at the lowest ownership, followed by Keenan Allen, followed by Lad McConkey is how I would rank the top three receivers there. A losing exercise to rank them because there's so much randomness there. But I think like Lad McConkey at 8,800, just given that price tag, given the 5.5 targets per game and the really tough matchup, I think that one is like pretty clearly, at least on paper, like makes a lot of sense to be under the field there. And that's what I'm going to plan to do. Trey Harris, 3,200, projected for 1% ownership. I'm getting to 3%. That's actually, I adjusted up his ownership. I'm still getting to 3%. I think he looks fine. Like he's 3,200 runs. Let's see, the route participation in the last couple weeks, 50% in week 11. They had their bye, 39% in week 13. I think he's had like 7 or 9 targets over the past, over the past 4 weeks. Yeah, 9 targets. So over 2 targets per game. That's not terrible. 36% route participation. So I like him a lot better than Jahan Dotson. So I will adjust that upward. Currently, I'm getting to more of Jahan Dotson. Just in a vacuum, I would prefer Trey Harris because he also has we have a full season and a half of Jahan Dotson on the Eagles running tons of routes and doing nothing and potentially even losing some of his route participation to Darius Cooper, whereas Trey Harris is a rookie who would, theoretically would expect his role to expand. We've kind of seen more routes recently. So yeah, in a vacuum, if they're even at the same ownership, I'd want more of Trey Harris than Jahan Dotson, despite, kind of a tough matchup with the Eagles defense. Darius Davis, I think you're just hoping for one catch. He's not going to be out there much. Didn't run any routes in week 13. It's just really a hope for a random reception at $200 can pay it off. I have 2.6%. That seems fine. That's above the field. All right, I'm going to move on to tight ends. I'm going to check in on chat. All right. If Eagles offense looks like it has recently, it could fail easily. 5-1 Bolts is betting. Okay, we're having arguments about the. I do think that people make the assumption sometimes that 5-1 Chargers means that the Chargers are going to dominate the Eagles, and that's not always how it is. Like there are prices attached to all these players, so you can have a 5-1 Chargers stack where you're betting on all of their players putting up fantasy scores, and that can hit even if the Eagles win the game. Like it's not actually a bet on the Chargers are going to dominate here. Same thing on the other side. You making a 5-1 lineup for a certain team doesn't necessarily mean that team is going to crush, because again, there's like just PPR points. You can get 10 receptions. That's 10 fantasy points for a player, and doesn't score a touchdown doesn't mean any points for the team. So I just want to note that just like making a 5-1 lineup for a certain team doesn't necessarily mean you're betting you think that team is going to dominate. I disagree with this. The King says Devontae just doesn't have a ceiling usually. This is going off years of him not scoring over 20. If he kills me, then he kills me. I mean, first of all, he's 8,400, so you don't necessarily need 20. But I mean, I guess I'll check that. Maybe you're right. But no, he put up week 7 this year, 33 fantasy points. He put up 20 in week 3 this year, 19 in week 5. That's under 20, but like pretty close. So you'd take that at 8,400. So he has a few games this year, 17 in week 10, that you would absolutely take. And that's not accounting for the 3-point bonus for over 100 yards either. So no, I think he's shown a ceiling plenty of times this year. All right, tight ends. Oronde Gadsden, 5,800 projected for 40% flex ownership, 7% captain ownership. I'm getting to 12% flex, 2% captain. Would like a bit more than I'm getting right now. And then Dallas Goedert, 5,400 projected for 42-3. I'm getting to 11-1. Those are the big tight ends on the slate that are getting a lot of ownership. I would like to bring the ownership down a bit closer to where RotoGrinders has it on Goddard. Looking at the roles for those two, again, if we just look at the past 4 games, really similar roles for Goddard and Gadsden. So over the past 4 games, Gadsden 18 targets on 68% route participation. Goddard 17 targets on 83%. So Goddard running a lot more routes, has 1 fewer target than Gadsden over the past 4 weeks. I also want to look at red zone rolls. Inside the 20, Goddard not targeted at all, and 0 end zone targets over the past 4 games. So that is notable, because that's different than it was early in the year. And then on the Chargers, where's Gadsden? 4 inside the 20 targets for Gadsden, 1 end zone target. So he has been targeted significantly in the red zone. That's all worth noting. Like that is for players that are not going to be targeted a ton, both, just over 4 targets per game. Those inside the 20 targets do matter quite a bit. I do want to also look at this for the full season though. So I'm going to pull up the full season. I mean, that like the recent weeks, I want to factor that in, but I also don't want to overlook like that. It could just be a small sample size. On the season, 7 inside the 20 targets for Dallas Goedert. Still only 1 end zone target. Okay, that's different than I thought, because he scored a lot of touchdowns. Apparently, they were not thrown to him in the end zone. But 7 inside the 20 targets on the season for Dallas Goedert. 7 for Devonta Smith. 11 for AJ Brown. Also 2 for Jahan Dotson, for what it's worth. On the Chargers, Oronde Gadsden, 12 inside the 20 targets, 4 end zone targets. They've just, excuse me. He was part-time for a good chunk of the season. And just in a limited sample, they have targeted him pretty heavily inside the 20. So that is worth noting. He has a pretty good role, even with limited targets. So I'm currently well under the field on both Gadsden and Goddard. If they do come in between 40 and 50% ownership, I'm going to remain under the field. I'm going to boost them up from where I am now. I would like to have 20% of each, I think. Like at these price tags, without much value, they certainly could be the guys you need. So I'm not going to take as big of a stand as what I'm getting right now. But it makes sense. If they're just going this highly owned for players that don't get a ton of targets, yeah, it makes sense to be underweight. I like Will Dissly a lot. So I've talked about how like we don't have a lot of value at under 1,000. Will Dissly with both Tucker Fisk and who's the other one? Tyler Conklin out. Who knows? Maybe he does suddenly see a bigger role. Let's take a look at the tight end usage. So didn't run a route. Hasn't run a route since week 7. Really, he was 51% route participation in week 1 when Orlando Gadsden was probably inactive. And then 28% in week 2. We haven't really seen him do anything since. But now we get Tyler Conklin out. That opens up 3.6% of routes. Tucker Fisk out. That opens up 21.4. He's only 200. So I think I do like Dissly at 200 at that minimum price tag. It's kind of a big unknown. We don't know how much he will be involved. But again, just one catch at 200 can separate you from all the other cheap options, allows you to get to a bunch of pay up options. So I do think that Will Dissly makes a lot of sense. And the Sims agree. He's projected for 4.5% flex ownership. I'm getting to 11%. That looks great. I think Dissly getting to double digits in the flex makes a lot of sense with the news that Tyler Conklin is out. I like him the best of the low-end tight ends, Grant Calcaterra, Kylan Granson. Same applies to them. Like one reception might be enough for Kylan Granson to pay off. He's just less likely to get it. I think Will Dissly somewhat more likely than Granson or Calcaterra because they've been active and doing nothing. Looking at the full season stats for the Eagles, Calcaterra has, where is it? 8 targets in 10 games, so less than 1 target per game. Granson 4 in 12. Just you're hoping for a catch, and it's more likely than not going to happen. And then defenses, kickers, getting to a lot. I think that makes sense. I'm getting to so the Eagles. Actually, let me move my sidebar down. But should not Dissly being out just, you can make the case that you will just like Gadsden more also with Conklin out. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Defenses, kickers. No, Dissly's not out, but Tyler Conklin is out, Gabriel. Eagles defense, 4,400 projected for 35% flex, 1% of captain. I'm getting to 17% flex, 3% of captain. I like the Eagles defense, but this also like they're getting a ton of ownership right now, so it makes sense to only get to 20% total. I'm getting more than the field of captain. That seems good. Chargers 3,600 project for 25-1. I'm getting to 25-3. That also sounds good. Like again, not much value on the slate. They're 3,600. That's kind of a nice value for the Chargers defense. Jake Elliott 4,800 projected for 25-1. I'm getting to 32%. Again, kickers defense is some of the better values on the slate with that much value. And then Dicker 5,000 projected for 25-1. I'm getting to 28-0. This all looks good. I don't think I'm going to make any adjustments to the defenses of kickers. I'll kind of take what I get here. I'd like to have at least double digits of all of them. If I can get to 20% of each, that would be great. No major stands for me at kicker or defense. All right. So I'm going to make some adjustments to my inputs and rerun things. Starting with, let's see, where do I want to start? I'm going to lower the ownership on Dallas Goedert a bit more. going to bring him down to 35%. I am also going to bring up Kamani Vidal's ownership a bit to 12%. And I'm going to give Omari and Hampton the bigger workload. So I'm going to move him up to, I'm going to flip their workloads. First, I'm going to click Smart Adjust, move Vidal down to 37%, Hampton up to 44%. Chargers. All right, man. Do we move up the rush rate? Like, I'm not getting into much of the Chargers passing game. Oh, interesting. Adam did put in a little Trey Lance market share here. Makes sense. I'd like more of the Chargers passing game, I think. Just generally. It's getting to a lot of Disley. I'm going to move up just slightly. I'm going to move up their points scored to 21, pace to 64, and I'm going to move the rush rate down to 45. So some slight adjustments there to get to more of the passing game, because I kind of like the whole passing game, and then move the rushing touchdown rate down to 40. On the other hand, they could just run the ball more with Omari and Hampton back and Justin Herbert having a hurt hand. I'm also going to actually give more of Justin Herbert's rushing work, I think, to Omari and Hampton. So I'm going to bring him down to 14%, Hampton up to 46%. Huh. It's interesting because I'm already getting to a lot of the running backs, and so I don't want to adjust it too much. I'll leave it there for now. All right. And then I'm going to, actually, I can move some of the passing game work from Kamani Vidal to QJ. All right, and then also the Eagles running backs. I'm going to move some more work to Bigsby and Shipley. So I'm going to bring Saquon down to 60% rushing market share. Bigsby up to 10. Shipley to 4. All right, we'll do that for now. Got to get rid of these bots. But yeah, please like the video. 23 more to 100 likes. Appreciate you guys. All at 1% weight. Oh, very nice. Lotzi says, caught me a nice 4th place in a lineup last night. Love to hear it. Oh, Adam pushed his ownership projections. Oh, crap. Okay. Yeah, I would have liked to use those. I would have started over. I don't have any Scott Matlock. I mean, I think that's fine. Liked from every account. You should open more accounts, Spurious News, and subscribe more places. Do you like A.J. Brown, captain for Zingletter? Yeah, fine. I prefer Devontae Smith, but I think A.J. Brown is also fine. It's super keen to see how close or how off those defense and kicker projections are tonight. It seemed like they were just pure guesses without data. What do you mean by that? I mean, projections, again, projections are not predictions. Not saying that you think they are, but I just want to make sure people understand, like, projection does not mean like this is what we're predicting, how many fantasy points we expect them to score tonight. QJ ownership was like 11-1 or something. It was really low. Do you think Disley gets steamed? I don't think he'll get steamed. He's projected for like 4.5%. Favorite Chargers receiver? Probably QJ. I think it's QJ. I think it's QJ, then Keenan Allen, then Ladd McConkey. Not count, and Aronde Gadsden would probably be, I don't know. I guess he might be fourth there anyway, just because he's the one that's projected for the most ownership. He does have the best price tag. Oh, I see that. Just the rounding there. Yeah, I know it's not just like random guesses. He's like looking at stuff. Yeah, same here. Could be Travis. I am adjusting. I don't want all that Vidal personally. I want some. Like, I think he's fine. Efficient captain ownership for Vidal is probably like, I think under 2, like maybe 2%. I'm just guessing though. I'm obviously not running Sims myself, but yeah, it would be pretty low. I can look at run the Sims. Braden says 3. Yeah, it sounds more likely. So what else do I need to do in New Orleans for people who have been there? Beignets, I'm hearing. What else? I don't do a ton of seafood, but I'll have to do some. I know they've got some good stuff. Cafe au lait. Did I say that right? Cafe au lait. The Dungeon. What's that? I don't think I've ever had gumbo. Beignets. Yes. Oh, definitely drinking a beer in the park. Yeah. Fish po' boy. Okay. Drink a hand grenade. Beignets. Need to remember that. Beignets? I'm already messing it up. Listen, I've only seen it in writing. Beignets? Is it beignets? Beignets? Somebody give me a new. Confirm. Please confirm. That was supposed to be said. Beignets? Is that right? All right, we're almost done with this set of The Sims. Yays. Okay, yays. Beignets. That's what I thought. Okay. All right, there we go. I didn't take French in high school. I took Spanish, and I wasn't that good at it. All right, quarterbacks now. I'm getting to. All right, Herbert projected for 44 and 6 at captain. I'm getting to 63 and 16, so I'm getting to a ton of Justin Herbert. I like getting to a fair amount. This might be more than I want, but we'll see. Hurts projected for 37 and 23. I'm at 60 and 6. So well over the field at flex, still under the field at captain. Saquon projected for 36 and 20. I'm getting to 42 and 15. So over in the flex, under a captain. That seems fine. I'm now getting to a lot more. So I gave Hampton a lot more work. I'm now getting to 42 and 13. So over the field, both at flex and at captain. Vidal, I'm getting to 20 and 1 now. That's more like where I'd like to be with Vidal. Maybe more evenly split than what I'm getting with Hampton and Vidal. But I don't know. I do prefer Hampton in a vacuum. It's just Vidal is, if he's not going to get much ownership, I guess that makes sense. I'm now at 3.5% Bigsby. I'd like more. I'm at 0.4% Shipley. I'd like more. 0.4% Matlock. I'm indifferent. Wide receiver, I'm getting to 31 and 19 at captain of Devonta Smith. That looks great. 27 and 7 of Ladd McConkey now. So that's come up significantly. I'm still under the field. I guess I'm fine. I wouldn't mind being even lower if I need to be. Yeah, now I'm not getting much AJ Brown, so I want more AJ Brown than the 9% I'm getting currently. Keenan Allen, I'm at 32 and 5. I like that. I'm over the field. QJ, I'm at 31-7, like that. 6% Trey Harris seems great. 8% Jahan Dotson, fine. 7% Cooper, fine. 1% Darius Davis. So the biggest thing I need to change is just more AJ Brown, preferably at the expense of Lad McConkey, I think. Tight end, I'm at 14.5 in the flex of Gadsden, 3.5 at captain. That seems fine. 11-1 of Goddard. Wouldn't mind more. 14.5 of Disley is great. 2 of Calcaterra, none of Granson. Fine with it. Defense's kickers. All right, I'm way lower now. Now I'm only getting to 12-4 of the Eagles, 26 of Jake Elliott, 18 of the Chargers, 19 of Cameron Dicker. I'd say I'm generally okay with these numbers. I'm not going to be able to adjust and use Adam's ownership numbers because I only have time to do Sims one more time, and I don't want to I want to be able to get close to where I want to be. So I can't just reset and use Adam's ownership numbers at this point, unfortunately. So I'm just going to try to spitball it. First, I'm going to download these, make sure I have some lineups in, and then I'll run the Sims one more time. My entire house smells like carnitas right now, and man, does it make me hungry. I cannot wait to finish this stream, go eat some carnitas, watch some football. Got a great night ahead of me. Nothing quite like carnita day because the whole house all day got it in a slow cooker. It's just amazing. All right, I've got some lineups in. All right. Disley is the second string tight end for the Chargers. Oh, did not mean to click on that. Going to get rid of that, though. All right. So, need more A.J. Brown, possibly at the expense of Lad McConkey. I could afford to get away from the quarterback some, but because I'm getting to so much. So I could do that with filtering possibly. All right, let's see. Going back to the inputs. I'm going to give a little bit more work, rushing work. Take it from Saquon. First, I'm going to re-click Smart Adjust. It's a trick that I've learned. Sometimes it doesn't work, the Smart Adjusting, if I don't double click it again. So I always do that before I keep going. So I'm going to move Saquon down to 56. Bigsby up to 12. Shipley up to 6. All right, and then I'd like more AJ Brown. I'm going to bring his flex ownership down to 35. Bring Hampton up slightly. 31. I think that'll help, and I can move up Lad up to 36. All right, let me try to normalize everything. All right, Hurts. Okay, good. I think that'll get me to more AJ Brown. Okay, looking good on the Eagles front. I moved up Omari and Hampton's ownership. I'm also going to just move him down to a 44% market share. Kamani Vidal up to 39. And then I think I was mostly happy with what I was getting. Yeah, I think that's good enough. And I'm going to run it now. And then I can adjust with filters if I need to. Aaron says, Sean, man, this Commanders year is sad and depressing. They couldn't even beat the Vikings. Yeah, but sad to see Jaden Daniels get hurt. I was so excited about him coming into the year. Favorite Chargers captain besides Ladd? QJ. Probably Quentin Johnston. Or Omarion Hampton is also fine. Carnitas, Sean. It's like a delicious pulled pork shoulder that you slow cook all day in a lot of spices. Tastes really good. Aaron, no idea. Goodwin and Pitts? I don't even know who the Thursday game is. Godwin and Pitts? Is it Tampa and Atlanta? I have no idea. I assume Godwin's playing, but I have not looked that far ahead. All right. We're getting there. They do have carnitas at Chipotle. Not like the carnitas I'm having, though. Oh, it's good. I made these carnitas once. We had dinner guests. A friend and his wife came over. And I made the carnitas at that point. This is probably 8 years ago at this point, but spent all day. It takes me way longer than it takes my wife. Like she can put it together in 20 minutes. It'll take me an hour and a half. And at that time, it took me even longer. It was like, I swear I spent 3 hours that day working on carnitas and pickled red onions and all the different stuff. And then I made guacamole at night. And as we're eating, it was like, oh my God, this is bad. Like this is just, actually, this is not, no, it was not, no friends. It was just me and my wife, but it was, I don't know, it was Valentine's Day or something, which is also her birthday. I spent all day on it and it was just bad and could not figure out what it was. Eventually realized it was just the guacamole was bad. It was like the carnitas were fine. Everything else was good. The guacamole had bad tomatoes in it. So the tomatoes I used had gone bad and it just ruined the entire meal until obviously we ate the rest without the guacamole and then it was good. But man, that dinner was disappointing. Yeah, I will not beat these allegations that I am the typical man making food. I'm not the best. I don't enjoy doing it. I know some men who love cooking. It's like a relaxing exercise for some people. It's just I'm always frustrated. It's just like the entire time it's like gotta find all these ingredients and then I don't know what these they like leave out steps in the instructions a lot. They just assume you know things and I don't know shit. So yeah, I'm a pretty bad cook. I've made some good food. Despite it all, I have made some good food. It just takes me way longer. Oh man, tomato and guacamole is good. Try it out sometime. Five more to 100. All right. Yeah, would appreciate it if you can get me there. I think this is a common thing. Devin says that he cooks for work and then doesn't do much cooking at home. I think that's fairly common. Do you also not go out to eat much? I've heard that a lot of like cooks don't like going out to eat because they're like, well, I can do it better. Would you play Gadsden and Disley in the same lineup? Absolutely. In fact, my second biggest win of all time, I won 300K on a showdown slate with 2 Chargers tight ends in the lineup. Yes, DFS. DFS has gone better for me than cooking. I have made some good meals. I want to be clear. I've made good things at times, but Not that often. I've also screwed up sometimes. Yeah, it was a 4-way. It was a Millie Maker at the time on a Showdown slate. 4-way split. This is 3-4 years ago. Favorite captain tonight is Devonta Smith for me for a large field contest. Favorite hot dish. I should know as a Minnesotan the definition of hot dish, but it's just like any kind of, it's like a quiche essentially, right? That's just we didn't really do like I think we ate it, but it's not, I don't know. Go-to meal. I mean, I'm a pizza. I love tacos. Like I think if I have my way for like what are we going to make tonight, I also can make tacos. That's something I'm good at making. So if I'm making it, it's going to be tacos. If I'm eating it, it's probably going to be tacos. I eat a lot of tacos. Okay, Jalen Hurts 60% Justin Herbert 60-20. So that's a ton of Herbert captain. Barkley 40-7.5. Omarion Hampton 39-7.5. Kamani Vidal 28-2. Bigsby 6. Shipley 2. Devonta Smith 31-22. Ladd McConkey 24-11. AJ Brown 11-2. Man, still didn't get too much AJ Brown. Keenan Allen 31-4. Quentin Johnson 29-6. Trey Harris 5. Jahan Dotson 5. Darius Cooper 10. Okay. 18-3.5 of Gadsden, 14-1 of Goddard, 13 of Disley, 2 of Calcaterra, 0.4 of Kylan Granson. Oh man, not a ton of the Eagles, just 13% of Eagles defense, 18% of the Chargers defense with 1 at captain, and then kickers 25-19. All right, let me see. I think I'm just going to try. First of all, I'm going to download these lineups, and then I'm going to try to really quickly filter. So I'm going to download those. Not going to put them in right away because I want to try filtering real quick. So player exposures, can I sort by captain exposure? I like having a lot of Devonta Smith. Herbert, I'm going to move lower. Ladd, I'm going to move lower. All right. So I'm going to go advanced filters. Maximum contain Justin Herbert. I'm going to put at 14%. Ladd, I'm going to put at 8%. I also don't want all of that to go to Devonta Smith, so I will put a limit on Devonta Smith at 22%, which is what I'm getting right now. I don't want it to all go to Hampton, so I'm going to set a limit on Hampton at 10%. All right, hopefully that'll be enough to spread it all around a bit. And then I'm going to send it back. 3,000 lineups. Re-optimize my portfolio. Ban the bots. All right. Hot dish equals casserole in other areas of the nation. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like have a favorite casserole. I think it's generally fine. I also like frozen pizzas. Don't eat a lot of Jimmy Dean's breakfast sandwiches. I have some in my freezer that have probably gone bad. Favorite captain for single entry, again, Devonta Smith. Maybe I already answered that. This isn't true, is it, Philip? Oh, you're making a joke. Okay. Ooh, Sean's steaks better than restaurants. That's a big compliment. Yeah, double kicker makes sense to me. I actually made a cash game lineup to play in a couple places that I think has, I don't know actually if it has double kicker. I think it might though. think it does. Appreciate you guys supporting the channel, getting to 100. AJ Brown going to get fed regardless of matchup? Probably. I also hope someone with a flannel does well tonight. Someone in the flannelverse. Let me know if you do. And you can win a flannel hat if you're interested by winning $1,000 or more. Sending me a screenshot with the flannelverse avatar. We'll send you a hat if you give a shout out on social media. Just like so. Follow those rules. I'll send you a flannelverse hat. All right, did this run? Nope, still running. You're saying for real? Phillip Rivers? That would be hilarious. Phillip Rivers on the Colts. I mean, I guess, like, it's a good team. You just need an adequate quarterback. Although Daniel Dimes has been better than adequate, so maybe not. All right, I don't think this is going to happen in time. So I am going to upload. Yeah, it's not going to happen in time. Yeah, even their newest guy got hurt. Anthony Richardson not coming back this week. That was kind of a bummer. You don't have too many options since you can't make trades at this point in the year. Yeah, good luck to everybody tonight. Should be a fun game, if nothing else. Looks like I got lineups. Let's see. I'm going to download these. I'm not going to get these in time, but I'm going to try anyway. They're probably going to be worse than my other lineups were anyway. Nope, didn't get it in time. Oh well. It was so close. So like I said, I am going to be traveling this week. Adam will be doing a solo show in the afternoon on Thursday. No show before lock on Thursday. Sunday, not sure what it's going to look like for Sunday Night Football. I might try to pre-record a video or something. Monday, it'll be just Adam in the afternoon. I won't be back in the evening. And then I'll be back next Thursday with the regular content with Adam in the afternoon and then solo in the evening. Same content going forward after that point. Just wanted to remind you, next week's going to look a little bit different as I travel to New Orleans. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Again, please like the video, subscribe, etc., etc. You can join the Flannelverse Discord, free to join. Link in the description of this video if you're not already in there. Appreciate all of you supporting. Good luck tonight. Let's win some money. See you next time.